So in this I'll be explaining how to install Sitecore 9 through Azure App Services. So in order to do that, you should have an Azure account and you should log into this portal.azure.com portal.com. Then if you're a first time user, you'll have 13,000 approximately credit points. So with that you can do some tests. So after that, so similarly you'll be seeing the screen. You'll be getting a notification like this, having 13,300 credits. So now, first thing first, in order to create on Sitecore 9 setup, we need to go to create resources. Then here you need to type it Sitecore. Yeah, it'll auto prompt you Sitecore Experience Cloud. Okay, and click on the create button here. If you have different subscription, then here it will be populating automatically. Since I got only one subscription, which is my free trial, I'll get this one. And for resource group, you'll have to since you're setting up a new environment and in a new set, I would recommend create a new resource group naming as Sitecore 9 setup. So under the Sitecore 9 setup, all our Sitecore 9 resources will be setting up. Now next thing, click on the settings. So it will lead you to this page. Here you need to select Sitecore 9.1 and so is here Experience Cloud. I'll be showing demo for selecting in developer environment, but if you want you can select a scaled mode also. If you are having that pre-prod, or you want a setup similar to your prod environment, then you have the option to choose scaled environment. So in this, you can, based on your need, you can choose small, medium, or based on the size. So the size chart also, so here they have the details of size. Oh, sorry. CD and all these things. Okay. So for my for explaining in this tutorial, I'll choose developer option. So in this, it will ask you for additional modules. If I want this Salesforce integration or JavaScript or Experience Accelerator, I can select them. Else, if I don't want them, I can ignore them. So in my case, I don't want these setups, so I'm just ignoring and clicking on next. So here it will ask for Sitecore admin password. Sitecore admin password, which is normally admin B, but you can Then it will ask for SQL Server login, which is, I can give SA or I can give anything I want. Yeah. So in my case, I'll be giving my username. I'll be giving my name. So since as you know, this Sitecore will create that master core web database. So all these databases it will create as a SQL pass. All right. Now here comes the important part where we have to choose the license. So now the authentication certificates. Since we don't have any certificate, since it's a developer machine and we don't have any certificates, so let's have a self-signed certificate. Sitecore 9 setup. Now, so now the important component, which is search provider. Here we got two options. One is Azure and another is Solar. So if we are using Solar, then we'll have to pass the connection string. Since I don't have a Solar setup readily available, I'll choose Azure Search for my indexing. So once you are choosing Azure Search, it will ask for how many replicas you want. So since as I have already explained, it's a dev environment, so I'll be choosing only one replica just for this demo. Here it is pre-selected. Use application insight. It's up to you whether you want to use that or not. So I'll not be using this application insight. This is a monitoring tool which logs the errors at page level. It has got a lot of features, application insights. So, but for now, I'll not be using this feature. So I'll just click on next. Now we have to choose the region. Once the region is selected, we'll move into summary. Here we can see the summarized version of what we are going to do. Here it is explaining 9.1 release, license, then configuration, deployment ID it will show, then common certificate, then the location certificate valid till. So if you remember, we have given the SQL Server login. Search provider is Azure and search replica count is one replica. So without wasting any time, I'm just going to click OK. The moment you click OK, it will start running. Okay, so once the configurations are done, we'll have one more last step, which is legal terms. So we'll have to go to legal terms. Here it will display the cost of how much it will require to run that dev instance. Like for Azure search, it will cost 22 INR per hour, and for app service plan, I will be using basic plan, that's why 19 rupees per hour. Then app service plan standard, that is 13. So here, if you notice, it is creating 13 instances of SQL database, like starting from master core, web till all the analytics database, everything is created in past. So it is almost that. So that I'll show you once the resources have been created, so that you'll have clarity of thought. Then now we can click on create and click OK. The moment you have created, the moment we have clicked OK, you see here that initializing deployment. So here you'll be able to see, then it came deployment in progress. So if you notice here, you'll say here deployment is underway. So here the start time of the deployment, it is, so earlier there were no resources, now slowly one resources. So you remember we have to create 13 instances of database, 2 instances of app service. App service means which includes that VM and that underlining setups. Then in our case we have used Azure, so that as well, Azure sets, so that as well. So we'll be just waiting, clicking on refresh. Now I'll suggest you to wait for some 40 minutes around. It'll create one by one. Then you'll have a, then you'll have a Sitecore 9 setup ready. So that part I'll show it to you once that is created. So after around 45 minutes, so this deployment took around 45 minutes. So, and you'll get a notification as your deployment is complete on the screen. Now once it is complete, if you can expand this, you can see, like, Sitecore 8, this like infrastructure application, all those details. Now if you go to app service, now let's go to, sorry, resource group, we can go. If you go to resource group, we'll see Sitecore 9 setup. This is where we have created. So in the Sitecore 9, these many resources have been created. If you notice here, most of them are SQL database. If you remember, 13 instances we created for SQL database. And if you go in detail, so it is like core DB. This is EXM master for experience email. Then for this is for forms DB. This is for master DB. Then this is for messaging DB. And for everything we have a SQL pass. And for application we have So now if you go to the SQL database, so we can see how many past databases have been created. So if you see here, all those details, you can see. Now let's go to app services. So in app service also, if you notice, in app services, you need to go to the single. Here there is a URL. Yeah. Click on this URL slash sitecore slash login. Here I'm going to enter admin and password. Meanwhile, this loads. This is for the first time, so it will take a little time longer to load. Here it is. Here is your Sitecore 9 instance loaded completely. One interesting thing you'll notice here is, if you remember correctly, there was a self-signed certificate which we have installed during our setup process. So that's the reason you're seeing it is hosted under HTTPS. So here is the home screen. Now the forms, everything pre-installed. So this reduces your complex overhead of running the PowerShell scripts, creating Solar Server, creating all those additional activities, completing all those additional activities. So we can just ignore them. Here you can see core master web, everything. You can switch over to the database. So here we got a perfectly running instance. So this is it. The app. In the upcoming videos, I'll explain more about how to listen.
Okay, now that we have got the Sitecore instances up and running as app services, so we need to see how the app config and all the Sitecore resources are set up inside the web server. So, like, this is a basic instance we created. So what we need to do is we need to go to the advanced mode, like, what if there will be scenario like, what if we need to deploy our custom codes. So uh, it's very simple. If you have got an Azure account and in the Visual Studio, if you integrate with this app, this Sitecore 9 setup and single. So if you are integrating into this app, then straight away you just need to create a publish profile in some simple terms. You need to create a publish profile, and once you publish there, then all those custom codes, everything will be published in this instance, and everything will be available in the site core. Your custom code changes. So in order to see where that custom where those custom files and that app config connection strings and that environment variables, like, where the solar config, all these things, we can select on this. The moment you select on this, you'll here you have to go to deployment center. There are multiple ways you can integrate your code to uh, this Sitecore 9, but I'll tell you how. It's a very simple and basic one. That FTP, like file transfer protocol. With FTP, you can easily transfer. Like, there are multiple options like Bitbucket, Azure repos, GitHub, everything. So you can use any way you like it. But I'll tell you how FTP works over here. So if you click this, then this dashboard will open. So here you'll find that FTP endpoint. So now we got that FTP endpoint, and here we got the username for that FTP and the password. So what we need to do is you just need to copy this FTP path, then put it inside, put it in the like any file FTP software you can use. So for this, I am using WinSCP. You can use FileZilla. There are many FTP softwares available. So I have used FileZilla. Then here you can put it as in hostname. You put that, and the port number, just put it as 21 because we want it as no encryption mode. Then next, you copy this username, then the password. Once you copy all those information, then you can simply log in. Then voila, here you can see the folder structure. Here, this is the web config. Here is the app config. Here are the connections. Like normally in Sitecore, how it will be. So the same way. Like normally when you publish a solution into Sitecore, so this is how it will work. Like basic Sitecore modules and app config. So if you get inside app config and you get that connection string, you'll notice it'll all refer to that Sitecore 9 set of what we created, those SQL pass services we created. So it is referring to them. So now you have option like, you can straight away integrate that app service with your Visual Studio solution. Else you can do one thing, you can publish to your local IIS, then from IIS you can just uh, have this FTP and straight away establish this connection and you go ahead and copy the files you need, copy the files you have modified. So that way your custom code, whatever you have written, so it'll get integrated into the site core. So that's for now. Thanks everyone.